Yay, Kansas City won another Super Bowl. Woo! Alright, in honor of celebrating the Super Bowl champions, the Kansas City Chiefs, we are doing US Highway 71, but what I like to call the northern section. We're doing from Kansas City all the way up to Canada, and we're doing northbound and southbound portion of US 71. So congratulations to the Kansas City Chiefs, and let's get started with this celebration video. If you've been enjoying my highways content or any of my other content, be sure to hit that like button and smash that subscribe button so you're notified of all my future highways videos. And guess what? I'm now open to extra requests. All of the future highways I'm going to be doing are listed down in the description below. So if you want any extra requests for the future highways, be sure to look down in the description and put your request down in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to shout you out. Let's get started with the highway. As you can see here, we're going to be starting right around the Kansas City area and traveling through the rest of Missouri, mostly through Iowa, a lot of through Minnesota, and ending all the way up here at International Falls at a junction with US 53 and the Canada border. So with that, we're going to be talking about northbound US 71. So we begin here where Interstate 49 ends at a junction with US 71 and Interstate 435. And 435 is signed north for Des Moines, while US 71 is signed north for Kansas City. Our first major junction on US 71 is the eastern end of US 56, and Todd from Control City Freak actually made a US 56 video for the Kansas City Chiefs, so I recommend checking it out right here. And now we're meeting Interstate 70, US 24, US 40, Interstate 29, and Interstate 35 all here in the Alphabet Loop. And we're going to be joining North 29 and 35. Here are splitting off from Interstate 70 and US 24 and 40. And we're signed north for St. Joseph and Des Moines. And I skipped all the way up to St. Joseph area where US 71 is splitting off from Interstate 29 because Interstate 29 and Interstate 35 was already covered by Todd from Control City Freak. And US 71 is now signed north for Maryville, which I think is a good choice because you meet US 136 there, and it's a pretty decent town. In fact, US 71 is actually a freeway between Maryville and St. Joseph, and we get Maryville and St. Joseph for our choices. Here in Maryville, we're meeting US 136, and US 136 is actually concurrent with US 71 for a short time. Our first mileage time, we get Claremont on the top line at 5 miles away, Bradyville, Iowa at 10, and Glorinda at 20. Here are entering into Iowa, and we just get Page County, Iowa, and Bradyville, and no welcome to Iowa sign. Here in Glorinda, we're meeting Iowa Highway 2, and US 71 is going to be joining Iowa 2 for a short time. And here is US 71 splitting off from Iowa 2 to head north towards Wasilla. Now we're meeting US Highway 34 just north of Wasilla. And now we're meeting US Highway 6 here in Atlantic, Iowa, and US 6 and 71 are concurrent with each other as we head through the town. Here we're meeting Interstate 80, and 80 gets the good control cities of Des Moines and the so-so city of Council Bluffs. Honestly, I would do Omaha for westbound 80 because that's the more famous city, and I was just being provincial here in southern Council Bluffs. And now we're meeting US 30 north of Interstate 80. And now we're joining US 20 here in the middle of nowhere, Iowa, and US 20 and US 71 are to be concurrent with each other, just like how US 20 and US 52 were concurrent with each other in Iowa. And here's US 71 splitting off from US 20, and it's signed north for Early and Storm Lake. Early. I skipped all the way up to US 18, and US 18 and 71 are in concurrent with each other as we head through this small town here in northern Iowa. And here's US 18 splitting off from US 71 as US 71 is now heading north towards Minnesota. And unlike Iowa, we actually get a welcome to Minnesota sign here in Minnesota. And this is in Jackson, Minnesota, and we just get Interstate 90 sign west and east. Actually, the control cities are right behind this sign, which is how you get a good view of it. And Interstate 90 itself, US 71 is signed for Jackson and Windham. That's good cities. I don't know, because US 71 actually doesn't really pass through anything huge in Minnesota. Now we're meeting Minnesota Highway 60 in one of these Minnesota small towns. And here I'm meeting US Highway 14. Now we're meeting US Highway 212 and US 71 and US 212 are actually going to be coming with each other as we head through Olivia, Minnesota. And here's US 71 splitting off from US 212 and it's signed north for Wilmot. Here in the Wilmot area, I mean US Highway 12 and it's signed for Wilmot and Litchfield. And now we're splitting off from Minnesota Highway 23 and now we're signed north for Sauk Center. Minnesota 23 is heading north towards St. Cloud. Now we're meeting Interstate 94, which gets the abysmal control cities of Alexandria and St. Cloud. That should be East 94 for Minneapolis, St. Paul, and West 94 for Fargo. Why are you allergic to good control cities, Minnesota? Now in Interstate 94 itself, US 71 is signed for Glenwood and Sauk Center. But our next mileage sign, we just get Long Prairie, which is 17 miles away, and we only get Long Prairie. That doesn't help long distance travels at all. Here we're meeting US Highway 10 in one of these small Minnesota towns. Now we're meeting Minnesota Highway 200, or the Super 200, which I actually am going to be doing a video on soon. Here in the city of Bemidji, Minnesota, we're meeting US Highway 2 and US 2 and 71 are going to be current with each other as we head through Bemidji. And here's US 71 splitting off from US 2. US 2 is signed west for Crookston, while US 71 is signed north for International Falls and Bemidji. That's for Minnesota 197. And we skipped all the way up to International Falls. We're now joining US 53. And US 53 and US 71 are going to be current with each other as we head towards the Canada border. And here is Canada Customs, and like every single Canada Customs, it's in 2008 Street View, and sadly we can't cross over it. So with that, we're going to be talking about southbound US 71. So we begin here on the Canada side, and we just get a no mention for US 71, we just get bridge to USA. And here are crossing over customs and into International Falls, and we get a nice reassurance shield over here of US 53 and US 71. And here's US 71 and US 53 splitting off from each other as US 71 is heading southwest from here. In our first mileage sign outside of International Falls, we just get Pelland, which is 9 miles away. And you know what Pelland is? Yes, it's an unincorporated community. Why do these states sign unincorporated communities? They should be actual towns. But I skipped all the way to Bemidji, and we're meeting Minnesota 197 once again, and we're going to be joining US Highway 2, and US 2 and US 71 is signed for Grand Rapids and Park Rapids. I did not know that there was a Grand Rapids, Minnesota. I knew there was a Grand Rapids, Michigan, but not a Grand Rapids, Minnesota. And here's US 71 splitting off from US 2, and US 2 is now signed east for Grand Rapids, Minnesota, while US 71 is still signed south for Park Rapids. In fact, Park Rapids is on the bottom line at 48 miles away. And now we're meeting Minnesota Highway 200 once again, and Minnesota 200 and US 71 are going to be paired with each other for a small time. Here we're meeting Minnesota Highway 34 in this small town, and US 71 just gets signed south. Now we're meeting US 10 once again. Here we're meeting Interstate 94, which got the abysmal control cities of Alexandria and St. Cloud. Why Minnesota? Now we're meeting US 12 once again, and it's signed for Litchfield and Wilmot. Here's US 71 splitting off from Minnesota 23, and US 71 is signed south for Olivia. I hope this sticks. And it does not. Olivia is on the top line at 23 miles away, and Redwood Falls is 45. Why is Olivia's sign on there? Then there should be Redwood Falls, Minnesota. If you're citing a secondary as a primary, then you're just like Pennsylvania and North Carolina. Ugh. Here I mean US 212 here in Olivia. And our next mileage time we get Sanborn 22 miles away and Windham 46. This is actually outside of Redwood Falls. Now I mean US 14 in the middle of nowhere once again. Now I mean Interstate 90, which gets the good westbound control city of Sioux Falls and east for Albert Lea. I know you need Interstate 35 in Albert Lea, but you should do Rochester because Rochester is more famous than Albert Lea. And shortly after, we're entering into the state of Iowa, and we actually get a Welcome to Iowa sign this time. And our first major junction in Iowa is US Highway 18. And here's US 18 splitting off from US 71. And first mileage sign in Iowa, we get Storm Lake on the bottom line at 37 miles away. And now we're meeting US 20, and US 71 is going to be joining US 20 for Fort Dodge and Sioux City. And here is US 71 splitting off from US 20 to head south for Sac City and Carroll. Now we're meeting US 30 in one of these small Iowa towns. And we're meeting Interstate 80 once again, and it's signed for Des Moines and Council Bluffs. And here's where US 6 is actually going to be joining US 71 here. And here in Atlantic, US 71 is splitting off from US 6. And now we're meeting US 34 in one of these middle of nowhere Iowa places. And here in Linda, we have a mileage sign, and we get Mayville, Missouri, which is 35 miles away, which I think should be signed. And shortly after, we enter into the state of Missouri. And if we look up ahead, we have a mileage sign here. Clearmont 5 miles away, Maryville 24, and St. Joseph 67. Here is US 136 joining US 71 right in front of this Dollar General here. Here in Mayville, US 136 is splitting off from US 71, and US 71 is heading south towards Joseph and Kansas City. Here is Interstate 29, and 29 is signed north for Council Bluffs, while we're going to be joining US 59 and Interstate 29 south for Kansas City. And here is the Kansas City Beltway, and we're going to be hopping onto the Kansas City Beltway, while US 71 and Interstate 29 continue south towards Kansas City. Here on the Kansas City Beltway are Interstate 435, we're meeting Interstate 70, US 24, and US 40. And here we're going to be taking the US 40 exit because US 40 leads you to the sports complex, and you know what's at the sports complex? Arrowhead Stadium, home of the Super Bowl champs, Kansas City Chiefs. Yay! And we actually jump back on Interstate 70 here, where we have an exit for 2 US 71 South, and it's signed for the Paseo. And here on US 71, we're meeting the eastern terminus of US 56. And shortly later, we're meeting Interstate 435 once again, and Interstate 49 spawned out of the middle of nowhere, and we're signed south for Joplin. And that ends US Highway 71 and moves on to the places I'll go. So these are all the places that I'd visit if I ever was on US 71 in the Kansas City area. And these are the places that I'd visit. I'd first visit downtown Kansas City, and then I would actually like to visit Arrowhead Stadium in St. Joseph, Missouri, not Minnesota, the town of Maryville, Missouri, and then the town of Atlantic, Iowa, and then Storm Lake, Iowa, and fish at the Storm Lake, and then the town of Jackson, Minnesota, and then the town of Redwood Falls, Minnesota, because it looks like it was a nice small town, and then the town of Sauk Center, Minnesota, where it meets Interstate 94, and then the city of Bemidji, Minnesota, and the city of International Falls, and then actually I'd like to cross over the Canada border and visit Thunder Bay, Canada. And that ends US 71, and congratulations to the Kansas City Chiefs for winning the Super Bowl. Thank y'all so much for watching this episode of the Super Bowl celebration. And again, congratulations to the Kansas City Chiefs for winning Super Bowl 58. My next couple of highlights that I plan on doing is US 1 here in North Carolina and Virginia. And then after that, I'm going to be doing US 58. And then after that, I'm going to be doing the Super 200 corridor. So stay tuned for that. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.